Hello everybody, it's me again. I've been doing some videos to do with MBTI stuff, and in particular a few videos to do with ENFJs and INFPs in relationships and what makes them work or not work, depending on usually depending basically on the health of the individuals in the relationship, and also talking about how these things interact together, so that they help each partner to act in a more kind of rounded fashion in the world. And then I was asked by quite a few people to do an ENFJ and INTP video, and how these two types would interact in the world together, and how they would act in a relationship, and how you would have either a healthy or unhealthy relationship. So this video is going to very much follow the previous videos in a similar way. So I'm going to talk about how each type can be unhealthy, how each type can be healthy, the healthy relationship style and the unhealthy relationship style. So I'm hoping it's not going to be too long, but it should be following those similar ways that I did my other videos. So I had some help from a couple of people that I'm going to mention. So we had Liz was helping me out with this video because she's an INTP and she wanted to explain a few things and how she behaves in the world, and also Monica, who's an ENFJ, talking to me about her relationship with an INTP and how each of these felt about this particular topic. So firstly, I'll talk about unhealthy ENFJs, which is what I have talked about this before, so I won't make it lengthy. An unhealthy ENFJ tends to get stuck too much in FE-SE loops. So what happens is that they are too much of a massive kind of like feeling being, where they're just feeling the other person's feelings as their own, and they're just sensing. So they're kind of making a big show of being kind and nice to the other person and all that kind of thing, and they don't connect it enough with their introverted intuitions to tell how the other person is either feeling or in fact thinking in this case. An unhealthy INTP who's stuck in a TI-SI loop will also be stuck, as Liz said, in their own world and in their own past. So they'll have intricate, huge amount of thoughts which will be connected with how they've experienced the world in the past, and they will go around in that loop without connecting it with their extroverted communicative function of ideas, which is their extroverted intuition. So they'll be disconnected from reality, and each of these types in a healthy relationship can help. The ENFJ can help by bringing the INTP into reality, by talking about feelings and by talking about senses, but also being able to intuitively know and intuitively feel how the INTP is thinking. So they'll be able to pick out thoughts from the INTP's head, possibly. But also what's really interesting about this particular interaction is that with the ENFJ, they'll be able to talk about the INTP's feelings, because obviously that's their strongest function. Now, this will be quite disarming for an INTP, and it might feel quite disconcerting for an INTP as well, because for them it's their most embarrassing function. So they don't really want to talk about how they feel. They quite often pretend like they don't even have feelings. You know, they're quite proud of that fact, because they don't want to. In fact, it makes them feel vulnerable. And the same thing the other way around for the ENFJ. The INTP will be bringing the ENFJ into their inner world. So they'll be talking about introverted thoughts, hopefully when they're reasonably comfortable with the ENFJ, and they'll be using their extroverted intuition as their communication tool to talk to the ENFJ about thoughts. And again, this is the most embarrassing kind of part of the ENFJ's arsenal, because it's the last thing they go to is their inner thoughts. So it's kind of disarming for the ENFJ, and it kind of bypasses their FE. and it delves into their inner world, and it finally allows the ENFJ to talk about their thoughts, because that's what ENFJs are embarrassed about their thoughts. They don't want to talk about them, so ENFJs will be hiding and bottling up all their thoughts, and they won't be talking about them. So now what I kind of got, a couple of ideas I had as well about this, was that INTPs are really scared of having feelings, because it makes them vulnerable. It's not something that they actually want to admit, like I just said, that they actually have, because INTPs will be possibly hiding their feelings from the world strongly, so that they don't have to feel vulnerable. And ENFJs, vice versa, are scared of having thoughts which are disconnected from feelings, because they don't want to feel numb, and not have feelings. So what's interesting is that the INTP wants to have feelings, but they're scared of having them, so they cover them up. And the ENFJ is scared of having disconnected from feeling thought. So both of these types will be able to hold each other's hands when it comes to these things, because the first function of the ENFJ, being FE, is going to be holding the hand of the INTP's inferior FE, and this is where I'm kind of talking about the functions and the way they work together in this way, because obviously INTPs and ENFJs share two functions, which are TI and FE. Both of these are either the first function or the last function of each type. So the FE DOM user will be holding the hand of the INTP's inferior FE and saying, it's actually okay to have feelings. It's alright. It's not embarrassing. It's fine. And I will talk about your feelings even if you find it really uncomfortable, because ENFJ, we can't help talking about how people work and how feelings feel. So we'll be doing that with the INTP's inferior feeling function, and bringing them into the real world by doing that. Now, as for the TI, it's the same thing but the other way around. So the introverted thinking of the INTP will be kind of holding the ENFJ's hand when they're exploring their inner being and saying, it's okay, you can talk about all these different thoughts without having to feel that you need to bottle them up and why they are embarrassing or stupid, because the INTP will hopefully will be able to think that they appreciate this ENFJ who's doing these things for them, and they'll be kind of like letting the ENFJ let off steam about how they think about things, which will be quite refreshing, because, and again with the functions we have here two opposing functions, which are NE and NI. If the INTP is a healthy INTP with good connection with their communication functions, the irony will be is that they'll be talking about ideas and feelings, but in connection with how they're thinking, because obviously their thinking is their first function. So the extroverted intuition of the INTP will be feeding the ENFJ's introverted intuition with loads of fresh, big field, crazy ideas, which is quite fantastic. We want to hear about ideas because it gives us something to think about. It feeds our inner stuff. So they'll be feeding the ENFJ with these fresh ideas, and it will give us the ENFJ will be using their introverted intuition and their introverted thinking to give, hopefully, quite incredible answers to questions that the INTP has, or ideas that the INTP has kind of talked about. And again, with SE and SI, the ENFJ's extroverted sensing will be pulling the INTP into reality. With their FE and SE, they'll be bringing them out of their shell into reality. And hopefully the SI of the INTP, if it's reasonably healthy SI, will be probably kind of remembering all the different things that the ENFJ has been kind of making the INTP feel good about. So those are the different things that I've come up with there. Now, there are some bad points to this possible relationship. So of course, we have the two problems with the TI-SI loop and the FE-SE loop. So the problem with TI-SI loops is that they will feel that they will think that they don't need to worry about how the other person, they'll forget how the other person feels. So the TI-SI loop will dominate, and it will need to try to be, it will be making sure that they're right. So they'll be saying, I'm right, I know about reality, you know, I want to know about, you know, the INTP will be wanting to know about facts and things that are correct. So they'll be saying, I know I'm right about this, and they will keep battering away at this idea that they've thought of, and they'll try to they'll kind of like push the FE dom, the ENFJ, into submission, and they'll forget about the ENFJ having feelings. And this is something that I talked to with Monica about. Is that the other thing is that the INTP craves being in their own bubble, and they won't express their thoughts until they're clear. Because it's introverted, they'll wait until their thinking is completely clear before they express it with their NE. So this can also make the ENFJ feel disconnected from the INTP, because the INTP will be in their own world, and the ENFJ will be craving the connection. Again, something I talked to with Monica about. They'll be craving the connection with the INTP that they can't get, because the INTP needs to withdraw into their bubble. So, and the other, of course, the thing about the FE-SE loop is of the ENFJ is that it can be too much, and it can be too shallow. If it's not connected with their introverted functions, their NI and TI, you're just going to end up with a puppy dog again, and it may not be able to engage with the TI of the INTP, or their ideas, or anything that they think, really. So they'll be able to talk they won't be able to talk effectively with the INTP. Now, of course, the other things about TI is that, and FE, which I feel as being the two things which are really going to pull this particular couple apart, it's the priority. The priority of the ENFJ is to have feelings, and to express those feelings, and to be connected with other people. And the TI of the INTP is there to think inside for the INTP, and they don't crave necessarily a connection with people, but really both types can do both of these things. They ought to be craving both things, you know, and that's where it can be healthy. So TI can be, you know, overly pedantic. It can give too much information for the ENFJ to have to deal with. It can be too disconnected from how people actually work. Whereas the FE dom won't understand necessarily how things work, and they won't really be caring about the information, but they'll be caring about how everybody's feeling and whether or not. So you'll end up with a disconnect of actually what you're talking about. So yeah, so that's really what I kind of thought about these two types, and I'm now up to 13 minutes. So those are the kind of thoughts I've had so far about that. Let me know what you think about it. And yeah, basically I think really the message in this particular instance is that I think that the priorities that's really where it's going to end up going wrong. So that's where I think that this couple wouldn't be good together. But if they can understand that they both feel and they both think, then they'll be able to make a go of it. So let me know what you think of the video, and I shall speak to you soon again about some other subject. Thank you. Bye.